who's not looking behind their back. So what do you say to an African-American young man or woman living on the Peoria South Side who see these numbers, and while they can appreciate the critique of the methodology of the data, but their day-to-day lived experiences reflect that of unemployment, poverty, incarceration, high incarceration rates, and so forth?
I would follow up with that and just say that I recognize the fact that by pointing out that this is a regional issue, that if you want to put that human face on it, correct? It doesn't affect that directly. That person is still dealing with challenges that many others in this region don't face, many others in the city don't face. But it becomes an issue as I'm looking at it as from the city administration standpoint. It's how do we marshal the attention of the community to address these issues so that we can address it appropriately. There's a lot of things that the city has been doing in the heritage neighborhoods of our city, the older part of the city. We've been working with the building trades and the NAACP to put more minorities into the construction trades. It's been a program, we've had some great success there. We've increased the number of minorities in the construction trades by 56% in partnership with ICC. That's another entity that we've been working with. But we also have been working with the NAACP and trying to diversify our workforce and really working with and the fire chief can talk about this, but looking to try and diversify the workforce to make it more reflective of the community that we live in. We know that we have 26% of the population is African American, but we also know that total minorities make up 40% of the population of the city of Peoria. So we've set some pretty aggressive benchmarks for that to try and increase and diversify our workforce. And we're working hard to do that. Our first year out of the gate, we didn't quite get there in terms of the stretch goal that we set, but we're moving in the right direction to hire people into the police and fire service that look like the community. So we're also doing a number of programs inside the older part of the city to help to address neighborhood issues. The council, as they prioritize their work, this is one of the areas that they want to see us focus on. They want to make sure that our neighborhoods are attractive, that we have good housing stock, that we have neighborhoods that are safe, neighborhoods that are clean. We're investing this year in this upcoming budget year, if council passes this in the next council meeting, the budget, we're looking at a significant investment in vacant lot maintenance to try and make sure that the neighborhoods don't look so overgrown and unkempt, so that we can work on that to try and address the issues of safety in the neighborhoods as well, because that becomes a safety issue in the neighborhoods. So the city is trying to do on a number of fronts, whether it's employment, whether it's neighborhoods, whether it's the maintenance of our infrastructure. We're really looking to try and address that. We know we're going to be embarking on a $200 million fix to our stormwater system inside the older part of the city. It's probably going to take us 20 years of time or 18 years to invest in that effort to do that. But we're going to be touching a lot of
Help us understand.
Okay. I'm answering his question.
Okay.
Because you asked him, what would you say to a young person on the South Side of Peoria, who looks at a world that has only the most bleak possible outcomes for him? Well, I haven't talked to anybody from the South Side of Peoria lately, but I did talk to Kuma from the Caribbean. Came to ICC on a sports scholarship. He plays soccer, not basketball or football. And he sat down and said he'd been getting cookie cutter information. What to do with his life, didn't know, wasn't sure he should stay in the States or what. He says, you seem to be smart. Tell me, what would you tell me about my future? And I had to sit down with him. Okay, he's from the Caribbean. What do I say to him? I don't know. This is strange. I haven't had anybody ask me that question for a long time. And so I started doing stuff and I asked him, so what skills have you got? What can you do? Well, obviously soccer. But you're not going to be a pro, are you? You're not Ronaldo. You're not Messi. He said, no. So I said, do You can do business? Can you do math, business? Are you interested in that? Because sports soccer teams have business managers. Are you interested in physical work? Physical therapy? Every soccer team has a physio who will take care of the physical problems of the team. How about sports management, sports advertising? Do you have those skills? See, in econ, they'll tell you, you have to have, oh man, fancy words now, marketable skills. You have to have skills you can sell. What will people buy that you have to give them? And you have to look inside of yourself. I can't tell you what your marketable skills are or what your skills are. They're going to be different. What do you have that you can sell in the world and make enough money to live on well? If I were you, I'd be scared to death. School, college, $100,000 loans, how are you going to pay it off? What are you going to do to make the money to pay it back? And do you really want to do horrible things that you're really bored with just to make the money to do that? What have you got that you can use, that you're willing to use, sell yourself, and support yourself? I don't know what those things are, but I think with some help, we all can sit down and give you that advice. Now, next question. Sorry, it's just one talk.
When we think about that young man, I mean, what is that young man up against? I mean, what is the economy that young man is likely to enter in today that perhaps his father or grandfather?
Well, first of all, in his case, he's bright. He's really good at what he does. He can do whatever he wants to. He's bright enough. And I'll tell you, if you're black and are bright, articulate, can do some numbers, banks want you. Businesses want you. They need people to talk to African American communities. They need people to be loan officers, to lend money across those lines, to break down redlining. They need what he has if he can put it together. And so he has an advantage over the rest of you. If you were a female, okay, I can tell you the number of females in an econ class are 1 out of every 1,000. And if it's a black female, it's 1 out of every 10,000. And so that's a monopoly position in a marketplace that makes them come first. If you can remember that, see, it's always best if you have a marketable skill to find a niche that no one else is doing. Okay, then you're the only one.
Okay. Representative Gordon, as you hear the realities of what's happening on Peoria South Side, you hear what our city manager proposing. Certainly it sounds promising that the amount of money that will be going to be pumped into the community. We're talking about over an 18-year, we expect to see some changes. But what do we do in the meantime? What's your reaction?
First, let me start off by saying thank you, Ryan, for such an eloquent introduction. Ryan not only is a father, a former Manning student that graduated from here, but what he failed to share with everyone is that he's also, he came back here to Peoria to make a life with his family after graduating from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign with a degree in engineering, one of the top engineering schools in the country. And I think it's important, to share that distinction because there are thousands of bright young black men, thousands of bright young black women that live in this community that don't get the opportunities. They don't have the same things afforded to them as maybe individuals that go to schools that are not necessarily within the city limits. That's not to say that there are not fantastic schools right here in Peoria, because there are. But we also know that there are schools that are doing more with less. They're underfunded. They don't have the same resources as other schools within this region. So those teachers are expected to, or those educators are expected to deal with not only the socioeconomic issues that those children are coming to school with every day, but they're also expected to teach in an environment that isn't always the best of conditions. And when we talk about socioeconomics, we have to be mindful that this idea and this concept that everyone has this equitable situation, that's a fallacy. right? Because we know when we look at the data, we can talk about the methodology, which we have discussed ad nauseum almost. But we also have to take a step back for a moment and think about the fact that if you were to talk to, I see a wide breadth of people in this room, many of them with a great deal of melanin in their skin like myself. Please raise your hand if you are African American and you're in this room, and when that 24/7 Wall Street study was released, raise your hand if you were not surprised. If you were not surprised, raise your hand. So that's more than 2/3 of this room. And I would dare say many of the individuals that raise their hands, they are bright, they're educated, they have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees. I even saw someone back there with a doctorate. They all raised their hands, so it's not that this is surprising. And so when we understand that this is the place that we're at, if all we do is talk about the methodology, when are we going to actually get to the place where we talk about solutions? And what are the issues that we need to get to begin to talk about why those disparities exist economically? Because if individuals continue to remain in lower economic conditions, they will never have power in the community. Because you can't control anything without economics. So I think that what we have to do is we have to get to a place where we get serious. We decide that this is an issue and that this is borderline epidemic proportions. And when you make the decision and you say, yes, this is an issue, then there has to be a cogent response to then follow that action. For example, in the state of Illinois, there was a decision made that, we have an opioid problem in Illinois. There are children around the state that are dying, not just in inner cities, but in suburban communities. They're dying of opioid overdoses, of heroin overdoses.